Welcome to this week's GameVamp NewsCast. This is the place where you get your information for the top news stories in the games industry for the week. We're going to get right started. I believe I have 4 stories on for today. And so we're going to start right away with what I'm calling Far Crying. So Ubisoft has released its first trailer last week for Far Cry 5. And it did really well. It trended number 2 on YouTube as a trending video for that day. And if you want to check it out, I did a reaction video. I have it in the description below, so feel free to click on that if you want to go check out that video and then come on back. But the game features a group that's highly religious, where they force people to take part in their religion. And under a man who calls them their children, and he believes he's their father. This group also is against the U.S. government. They have weapons, and they are basically occupying this space that they own. And because this takes place in America, specifically they said in the Montana, and there is certain scenes in the game where from the trailer they have Bible verses on them. People have been talking about them being connected to the Christian faith. And because of this, there's been a lot of chatter in the comment sections. People have gone from the point of saying comments of accusing the game of being racist to accusing the game to be anti-religious and anti-Christian. Now, on top of that, there has been a petition put on change.org by a group called, Games United, where they state, in quote, "We've sat through your multicultural lectures and your peachy games aimed at degenerates and miscontinuous. We've tolerated it in the name of gameplay design and innovation. But no more. Far Cry 5 is an insult to your fan base, the Americans who make up a majority of your customers, and it's time to woke up to the fact. Change this or cancel it." So they've suggested, with this statement, and they've said a lot more, but I'm only covering a little bit of it, of just the important stuff they've said. Within that, they have made suggestions in part of the petition. Part of the suggestion is, it seems that they have seen only white characters in it, so they prefer that they have more than just white people because they think that the game is more anti-white. They've also recommended to completely change the villain, completely change the location to not in America, and because they feel like it's anti-American. And so one of the recommendations was that change it to Canada. And another one they recommended was to not and change the story completely so that the group is not an anti-religious group. So at this time, when I last checked it for my research for this video, is at 1,417 supporters, and they're trying to get 1,500. I gotta say, this is my thought. This is ridiculous. I understand people's frustrations, like they feel like they're being made out to be bad people, or if they feel like this game is made out to make them look like bad people if they are religious in some way or in any of that kind of fiction. But this is a fictional thing. This is not a real thing. It's fictional. It's a game. We have seen these same kind of archetypes of characters and villains and groups that focus on a religion that are what you could call an extreme, to where they force people upon that religion. We've seen this in something as simple as The Walking Dead, but there's no petitions out there about The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead's fictional, and so is this video game. This game is fictional. The trailer was meant to get people to react. That is what the marketing is meant for. And the game is not even finished yet, so you can't pass judgment on a game by it's just its first trailer. Now, they also mentioned, which I was not okay with, they mentioned, quote, "In these times you must understand that there might be some violent repercussions." This is ridiculous. And that was the end quote. This is ridiculous. This is a video game. It is not real. Wake up and understand that no one should get hurt over a video game. We have seen recently in the games industry, just this past summer, with No Man's Sky. Sean Murray literally got death threats because he delayed a game a month. This is ridiculous. It is a video game. It is not worth hurting people. And even though they're saying that they're not going to hurt people, they are insinuating that people will potentially could get hurt if nothing is done about it. And that's not okay. We should not tolerate that at all. I promote treating people with respect, and it is okay to have different opinions. I highly encourage people to have positive conversations, especially in these areas, including something like my comment section in my YouTube channel. I highly recommend people to have positive conversations about differences in opinions, and we can have those conversations and yet not be yelling at each other. Because in the end, if you respect me, I respect you, and I need to respect that you have a different opinion than I do, and that's okay. But in the end, if you don't like the game, these people should just not buy the game then. If these 1,417 supporters, just don't buy the game then. If you don't like what it's telling, you don't have to buy it. But this is a fictional game that is not real, and it's just not real, and it's a video game. For my personal say, I would say drop it. But they have their own opinion, and they're free to have this petition. The thing I have the bigger issue with is them demanding, and then also on top of that, having this kind of not a threat, but a threat to a game company about a game. That's not okay. It's not treating people with respect. So that's my thoughts on this situation. On the other hand, for Ubisoft, they kind of updated I called it Ubi Update. They basically have updated their logo for the company. So some history behind their logo a little bit. They have changed their logo a total of 4 times, and this includes this change that they just made. They made those changes in 1986 when the company was founded, 1995, 2005, and now in 2017. Now, what they did for the change, they made the logo clear. So you just have the white background around it, the white outline around it, and then you have a new font for what they write for Ubisoft. And then there's no color filled in. Now, they did this for multiple reasons. And quote, this is what they said. Quote, they are going to take on the colors and textures of our worlds. And we can't wait to hear what you all think. Now, from a marketing standpoint and as a company standpoint, that's a really smart idea. Ubisoft offers a wide range of games and franchises that not very many publishers do offer. They offer from kids games all the way to adult games. They are probably one of the most diverse and widespread publishers that are in the market today that reaches the most widespread audience. So it's really cool that they get to blend their logo with their franchise that they're working on at the moment, and it makes it more marketable, and it might make it more recognizable. So when you see the logo, you might be able to identify the franchise just based off what the texture is in the background for the logo. So I think that's just a really cool, smart move by Ubisoft, and I'm really excited to see at E3, because they mentioned that they will be showing off the new logo at E3, to see how the logo actually looks when they put those textures in. Is it going to just be the background with the logo on top of it, so you just see what's in the background behind it, or is each game actually going to have a distinct color combination that is not in the background of what is playing in that moment? Either way, if they can find a way to make it recognizable where you could just look at the logo of Ubisoft and then identify the game based off the logo, that is a smart marketing tool for them, and I think that will go very far for them in the long run as a game publisher and a game company and a game creator. So this is a really smart move for Ubisoft, and I'm just personally really excited to see what they have to offer in that section. So moving on to our third story, we have some rumor patrol going around. So there are a couple rumors in the same area of Nintendo that has brought into the world. So they're both having to do with the Switch, and what has been happening recently is rumors are really coming true for Nintendo. No matter how we look at it, recently, I would say about 90% of the rumors that have been out there has came true. We had the Rabbids franchise, we had Zelda, all those kinds of things. So all the rumors really have been coming true. So this potentially could help in that category of the rumors being true, and that we should start believing the rumors very, very soon. But here are the two rumors. One of them is that it's for a game that did pretty well commercially, but its biggest success was actually being able to be it was a nominee for the Video Game Awards. And I'm talking about the Pokken Tournament. So a Japanese retailer has listed the Switch as a platform for Pokken Tournament. Now, I think this is a really smart move for Nintendo. You have a franchise and a game that had so much success and got such positive reviews, and also was in the Video Game Awards as in the category for Best Fighting Game, and it was getting positive reviews. I think the one thing that was holding the game back was it was sold on the Wii U, and the Wii U just did not have enough consoles really to make it worth selling, to make good profit off of. And now with the Switch and having such big success with the Switch, they have a bigger install base to be able to sell this to. And people that, I did not have a Wii U, but I have a Switch now. So with that being said, I'm more inclined probably to buy Pokken Tournament because it's been such a good reviewed game and it looks like an awesome fighting game. It's the only fighting game for Pokemon that is available. So I think this is a good way for them to bank on that franchise, and potentially that could show that a Pokken 2 Tournament 2 could be coming out soon if they're trying to push Pokken Tournament, or if they're success with that one, then they would push a Pokken Tournament 2. So this is a good move for Nintendo either way. It really opens up a lot of doors for them, which is really, really smart for their company. So the other rumor is that Super Mario Odyssey is going to be released in November. Now we know it's set for release in holiday, but we never had a date yet. So now we do, and we kind of have a window. It's a smart window to put it in the November dateline, because then they can push it back if they need to December if they need an extra month, and they can move it forward whatever the game market looks like. It's smart to put it in November for a couple reasons. That's the first reason, because they can move it forward and push it back. The other big one that is great for them is if it's in November, Black Friday. Black Friday is going to be huge for them in game sales. It's going to be huge for them in console sales, but it's also going to be huge for them in game sales. And what game goes really well with a Nintendo console? It's a Mario game. So if they can release that game just before Black Friday or earlier in the month of November, but as long as it's before Black Friday, they have an absolute hit on their hands. Parents are going to buy this game and this console up the wazoo. I would not be surprised if the Switch is going to be the number one selling console on Black Friday, and Super Mario Odyssey is going to be the number one game sold on Black Friday. If they can narrow that is going to put them in prime position for this console. So far, this console has been selling really, really well. And they have leaked another piece of information that Nintendo hopes to sell 18 million units of the Nintendo Switch by the end of March, which is the 1 year period that the console has been out for. And I think that that's a really smart number to go for. And especially, like I said, if they're going to release that Mario game in November, that is easily going to get them to their goal, or get them so close to being able to achieve a goal like that. Also, we have other games going to be coming out for the Switch at the end of the year, but I expect them to be pushed back. An example is, I totally forgot the name of the game right now, but I will put it on the screen. But there's a game that's going to be pushed back. I think it's going to be pushed back. It's Xenoblade Chronicles. I think Xenoblade Chronicles 2 will be pushed back. I do not think it will make it to this year, but I could be totally surprised, and it could not show. It could show up for all I know. So, but I think Nintendo is in a smart position right now, and they've done very, very well so far. They really need to keep this up. If they do, they are going to be really, really successful with this Switch console. And that is all we want. We really want a Nintendo console that is successful, that gets good games, and is appealing to all audiences, including not only their core demographic of Nintendo fans, but the outside that want to enjoy Nintendo games and experience that experience like I do. I don't consider myself a core of Nintendo's fan base. I consider myself a little bit more on the outside, and I'm happy they're appealing to me. I'm buying their games right now and really enjoying it. So they are on a right path right now, and I'm so happy they are. Let's hope they keep it that way. Though, and I'll cover it a little bit I'm going to cover the press conference, each one next week, in a separate video of what I want out of each of the conferences. And a little bit of sneak peek, what I'm going to say for Nintendo is they should not even worry about third party right now. They need to keep this first party games going fast and furious, because they are on a roll right now with the first party, and the third parties are not going to make down-res their games for the Nintendo Switch. So they should just go with where they're having such effectiveness right now, and it's first party, and they need to keep this momentum going. If they keep this up, they are going to have a hit on their hands as a console for the Switch. Not a doubt in my mind. They could do super well with the Switch. Probably not the best selling console of all time, but it's definitely going to far surpass the Wii U ever did, and they could potentially keep up with the market of Microsoft right now, even though Microsoft is being sold. Sony is selling them probably at a 2-to-1 margin right now, but Microsoft is still doing really, really well for selling the amount of units that they're selling at the moment. So my final story is taking it back. So last week, Square Enix announced that they were looking to hire employees, and that they were in kind of an emergency hire. They were looking for as many employees as they can hire as possible as game creators. And it really opened up the question of why were they doing this? We didn't know why they were doing this really, and it just was, we were just confused and really didn't have much clarification. But now we have some clarification with the story that just got released. We found out that Square Enix has announced that they are taking back the reins and full development of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, at the moment, it was originally being done by a third party. So a third party publisher, they hired out a different publisher that's not in their wheelhouse. They hired CyberConnect 2 to work on to work on Final Fantasy Remake. And it was going to be split into 3. It wasn't really clarified if they meant episodes or it was going to be 3 parts, but no matter what, it was going to be split into 3. And CyberConnect was going to work on the first part, another company was going to work on the second part, and then a new company was going to work on the third part. So what ended up happening was they, quote unquote, were saying they wanted to take back the reins because they wanted better quality control, and as well as keeping the schedule stable. So it must seem like CyberConnect was not making the schedule that they needed to make, and the quality of the game was not coming out the way that Square Enix wanted. And what happens for a lot of publishers when they hire outside of their wheelhouse, what they do is they have benchmarks, and they say, if you get this far in this game, we will give you this much money. And that money is used to pay their employees to create the game. So if you fall behind on the game and you don't have a good reason for it, you potentially are going to lose out on money because they're not going to pay you until you finish that portion that they need done by that time period. So it's part of that company. So if, in this case, if CyberConnect was not making their deadlines, CyberConnect probably was taking money out of their own pockets to be able to try to pay for their employees to make sure that they could eventually hit that benchmark. So I think overall this is a good idea for Square Enix. If CyberConnect was not making their deadlines and they want to keep this momentum going for Final Fantasy VII Remake, they really need to take the reins then. And that's what they did, and I applaud them for that. And it kindly put it into perspective with another story that came out of Square Enix. Square Enix was in the news all for the past 2 weeks, is that they have stated that we probably will not see the Final Fantasy VII Remake game or Kingdom Hearts 3 until about 3 years from now. At first, I was like, well, you revealed this game 2 years ago as the remake, and then when you revealed it 2 years ago at E3 in the summer, that winter in that December before the next year was, or is it January, whenever was PlayStation Experience, they showed off gameplay. And it really looked like they had progress done in that game area. So I was just really surprised that when I was reading that originally, before this news story came out about Square Enix taking the reins back for the Final Fantasy VII Remake, that we're not going to see it for 3 years from now. And part of that is maybe they showed the game too soon. But, you know, that got a lot of people pumped and gave what people would call the conference of dreams or whatever for Sony when they did E3 2 years ago. So again, this kind of helps clarify that potentially that could be shortened in a time period. Maybe it's going to be 2 years because they're just taking the reins up on the game, and we don't know how much of the game is actually completed yet, and how much they want to keep, and how much they want to readjust, and how much they want to completely remake from scratch. So I think we just need to keep on this story, and eventually we're going to get more news out of it. But I think this is kind of a good thing overall for Square Enix. They have kind of been getting their momentum back, especially with finally being able to release Final Fantasy 15. And I personally enjoyed the game very much. It's not my favorite game of all time, and I don't love the game, but I really liked it, and I liked the direction they were going with it. And it seems like they're going with a similar combat system for Final Fantasy VII Remake. So it'd be really I think they probably can improve that combat system even more when they put it into Final Fantasy VII Remake. So we'll just have to keep on the story and see how those two games are doing. I know Kingdom Hearts 3, a lot of people are waiting for that game. I'm waiting for that game as well. I am caught up on Kingdom Hearts, and I just want to be done with it. Even though we have been told that's not the conclusion of the entire story, it's conclusion of Xehanort Saga. But there are still more Kingdom Hearts to come after Kingdom Hearts 3. So, but what are your thoughts on these top stories this week? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, check out the other video that I have on freeze frame rate, and go ahead and give that a thumbs up, give that a share. And then of course, if you want to keep up with the content I'm releasing each week, including the GameVamp newscast that is released every single week, hit that subscribe button. My name is Mitch, and I'm signing off saying, see you soon.